What's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. Hope you're all keeping well out there. Got a 5-minute running clock, so you guys just get through this in your own time, but 5 minutes is the limit. We're gonna start off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice, so you can be a little bit creative there. We're gonna go with a light plate ground overhead. So from the floor up to lockouts, we do that for the first minute. From there, we're gonna make our way through 100 skips. So getting our skipping rope and just moving through 100 single unders. We then come down to the ground and go into 50 mountain climbers. So push-up position, switching the legs. We then go into 40 jumping jacks. And then finally going into 20 hollow rocks. Just going back and forth, working on that midline strength. So that's the warm-up. Remember, it's a 5-minute running clock. Em, you good to go? Yep. All right, so starting in 10, remember it's 1 minute of cardio of your choice. So you can go with whatever you want there. Running high knees, butt kicks, that sort of stuff is good. And go for it. So if you happen to be doing the same movement as us guys, you'll notice we've deliberately gone for a very light plate. The whole purpose of this is just to allow the body that time to kind of ramp into the intensity. So don't go anything for too crazy too soon. Don't grab a really heavy plate, just go for something light. It's more about the actual movement rather than the resistance of the plate itself. It's more just something for her to hang on to and have a touch marker to the ground there. So nice straight back as she gets into that bottom position. You can see the knees are going to flare out. She's kind of riding the hamstrings there, keeping that good tension. And then it's a rapid hip extension coming up to a lockout overhead. So her head is going to pop through just slightly, just to hit that nice stack position at the top. Now in about 15 seconds, we're going to move on to the rest of the list, which is going to be 100 skips, 50 mountain climbers, 40 jumping jacks, and 20 hollow rocks. And we're hopefully going to get that done under that 5-minute clock. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So moving to the skipping rope now, guys. Got nice close feet up on the balls of the feet, so keeping the heels clear, and we're tucking those elbows in nice and close. So from side on, we're going to see just a nice upright body position, very minimal movement at the hips and knees. It's more like the body's kind of just a rigid spring moving up and down. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed down through there. So doesn't necessarily have to be 100 straight. If you're still working on your skipping ability, you might break it up a little bit. If you can go straight through, that's even better. And once we clear the 100, we're going to move on to the 50 mountain climbers. All right, so moving from there, guys, we come down to 50 mountain climbers. We're going to be in a push-up position. So from there, we are basically switching the legs back and forth. So the straight leg should be completely extended, basically running the whole line of the body in one straight line. The other leg is going to tuck up to about almost chest height. So think sort of bottom of the sternum. We want to get a nice big hip movement there. We're also trying to keep the torso fairly still. Sometimes the temptation with this is to kind of jump and bobble up and down. We're going to try and lock in a little tighter through that core, lock in those lats, keep ourselves in a nice still position. So jumping jacks are next. We're going for 40 reps on this one. So again, like the other two movements, guys, if you can go straight through it in one big set, awesome. If you feel like you need to break it up a little bit, that's cool too. We're going to have a similar kind of situation with the feet in that we're staying just on the balls of the feet. Should really be no heel contact at all. Now you notice that Em's deliberately going a really big long arm position with this. This is for the sake of mobilizing those shoulders really well. Of course, we could go short and go fast, but that's probably not going to do as much as far as warming up the shoulders go. So she's deliberately making it a bigger movement. And we're just working through those 40. The last piece now is those 20 hollow rocks. So legs are fully extended, toes pointed, ankles pulled together, so fully tensioned legs, and then the arms are up overhead there, reaching up. We're thinking about kind of creating a nice curve through that low back. So you're going to go ribs down to the belly, kind of roll the pelvis back, making that low back nice and curvy, and that way you get that nice smooth rock that Em's got going on there. Nice. All right, guys, so that is the warm-up done. It takes some recovery time. Get some water. We're going to have a look at Move next. Okay, so we're having a look at the Move workout now, guys. This one is going to be 15 minutes in total. What we have is 3 rounds. There's 4 movements plus a rest round, and we'll basically do a minute on each of them. within the minute of those working rounds, we'll work for 45 seconds, rest for 15. So you're always going to be getting a little bit of rest each round, and then there's also that minute rest at the end of it. So minute 1, what we'll do is cross-body mountain climbers. So we're going to set up in a push-up position and basically doing a mountain climber, but switching the legs across the midline of the body. So there's a little bit of rotation happening there. So 45 on, 15 off of that. We then move into push jerks. So taking our weighted object to shoulders, dip, drive, and drop underneath. Okay, and we'll do that for that 45 on, 15 off. The next one is going to be power cleans. So we're going to go from ground up to front rack to a stand up. Okay, from there, the next one is going to be cardio of your choice. So you guys can pick this one, do a little bit of choose your own adventure. What we're going to do is an alternating toe tap. So with the dumbbell out in front, basically just hopping from one foot to the other. And then the 5th minute there is going to be your rest minute. So you get that each time. Good to go?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10 with the cross-body mountain climbers. Remember, you'll work for 45, rest for 15. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So first thing to note about this, guys, 15 minutes, it is on the longer side. So even though there are those little rests in there, there's going to be a fair bit of volume to this one. So definitely don't blast out of the gates. Think about trying to fill the 45 seconds as much as possible, but know that along the way, the chances are you're probably going to take some extra little rests. That's okay, but we want to just try to minimize it as much as possible. So a good way of doing it, if you're working for 45 seconds, see if you can go 20 on, 5 off, 20 on. That's a good little way to break it up. It's a little bit easier mentally to know that there's just going to be that little bit of rest in the middle there. And then you can have a proper rest at the end of the minute of that 15 seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, so 15-second rest here. We're going to move to the next station, which is going to be the push jerks. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So with the push jerk, guys, it is a little different to our normal presses and even our push presses. We're going to see a re-dip underneath. That's just kind of the defining feature of this one. So you'll see Em kind of load the legs, drive them off in that heaving motion, and then as the dumbbells start to take off, she's going to relocate back underneath them. So she'll land in kind of a little quarter squat with the arms locked out. And it's really important. What you want to try and refine with this is as she hits the punch, that should match the exact moment the heels hit the ground. Okay, so it's just one strike, everything locks in place, and then she finishes by standing up tall. And resting. Okay, so another 15-second rest. We move to power cleans next. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So most important thing with this one, guys, safety-wise, we're keeping that back nice and straight. So ideally, we want to be able to touch the front ends of the dumbbells to the ground. That being said, if it means that you've got to round off to get down the bottom there, that's not what we're after. So you can shallow it out a little bit, go maybe just down to knees or just past the knees. But the main thing is that we can hinge the hip with a straight back rather than kind of half hinging and then just rounding the rest of the way. Three, 2, 1. So another rest. So we move now to the cardio of choice, guys. Remember, we're doing the toe tap, so you can have a little bit of kind of creative license here to do what you want. You can do the same as us if you want to, or mix it up. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So main thing is, like we're doing here, just something simple, something straightforward that we can do continuously for those 45 seconds. So don't want anything that we're going to have to think about too much, nothing that's going to be so heavy that we have to break it up too much. Something like this where it's just all we need is a dumbbell. You don't even have to have a dumbbell. You could just have any kind of weighted object, but just tapping the toes to that. And just staying light on the balls of the feet. So the foot that's on the ground each time is just going to be on the ball of the foot, not on the heel. Three, 2, 1. All right, so we get our 15-second rest, then we actually roll into our full minute rest, so you can take some recovery time now. That's 1 of the 3 sets down. 3, 2, 1. So 60 seconds from here, and then we'll start that next cycle. Okay, 30 more seconds of the rest, and then we're going to circle back around to those crossbody mountain climbers. Okay, 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go. So we're into our second set of 3, guys. Just going back onto these crossbody mountain climbers. But with the normal mountain climber, we're basically tucking the knee up to about chest height. With this crossbody one, we're actually going to take the knee towards the opposite elbow. That's going to be our target. Now, you might not necessarily touch it. That doesn't matter too much. It's more just the direction we're going in. So you will feel that even though we're going to kind of brace the body still in one position, in its position, it's going to kind of rotate a little bit, and that's where those abs are going to kind of come in, creating that little bit of twist motion. The whole time she does this, though, she's going to keep those shoulders really active, so the arms are just locked out hard into the ground. And it's really just from basically the ribs down that we're going to see any kind of motion there. And resting. So moving to the push jerks next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So you'll see that when Em hits that catch position, that little re-dip kind of drop under, she's making an effort to kind of push the head just slightly forward, not excessively, but just a little bit. You're going to see her ears and her biceps line up together. That's what's going to create that nice stacked position through the shoulder. What we don't want to have happen is that she's pressing out in front of herself, like she's fading that head behind, leaning back. We're always trying to keep that torso fairly vertical, but it's just the head that's going to come through just to get that nice finish on the catch. And it's a little quarter squat, so you don't have to go excessively deep, it's just enough to relocate underneath it. 3, 2, 1, and resting. So another 15-second rest, we move to the cleans next. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. Now the push jerk and the clean are going to have a very similar kind of characteristic in that we're trying to utilize the legs and the hips to create momentum, and the arms are really just finishing it off. So you'll see with this that she's going to do that kind of deadlift position, create some speed, that will then flow into the nice big shrug motion. Dumbbells by that stage are almost just floating into position. The arms are just got to kind of flick them over. So try to get that sequencing down. If you find yourself kind of curling early or pulling early, relax those arms off, try to leave them to the absolute last minute to make them move. Nice work, Em. And resting. Okay, so moving to the toe taps or whatever cardio you're doing at home. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So the leg position on this, guys, they're going to stay fairly close, like narrow, right? But they're going to have a little tiny little bit of bend in the knees just to kind of spring from one foot to the other. Shouldn't be a completely locked out leg. The leg itself will be reasonably stiff. So kind of like when we do like double unders, it's kind of that sprung steel kind of pogo stick kind of feel with the legs, but don't have it completely locked out. We're going to jar the knee. Three, 2, 1, and resting. Okay, so we go into our rest round next. Okay, so 60 seconds now, and then we're going to hit the third and final round. Okay, 30 seconds to hit that last round. Okay, getting ourselves ready. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So back on the crossbody mountain climbers. This is going to be the last cycle through, guys. So this is where you really want to try and push it. If you're taking a couple of rests before per round, try to get it down to 1 or even no rests. Just take the 15-second rest at the end. Really try and hang on. So you can see Em's still hitting that really nice, fully extended position with the body. She's not allowing herself to jackknife up into a high hip position. She's keeping everything low, keeping the chest over the hands. Three, 2, 1. All right, 15-second rest. Going to move to the push jerks next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, one of the common errors with this, guys, especially if you've got quite tight shoulders, is when we go to catch, people catching with bent arms and then pressing again as a secondary press. What we want to do is just hit a lock in one go and then stand up tall. So the actual top part of this is almost like a really shallow overhead squat. Catching in that and then standing with the arms locked out. If you're catching with the arms bent, we want to try and hit that lockout a little bit more cleanly, and that'll take a lot of stress off the wrists, elbows, shoulders, low back, that sort of thing. We go from one strong position to another. And resting. So just power cleans and your cardio choice to go. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So stance is going to be fairly narrow with this one, guys. You might find along the way, especially if you're getting tired or the dumbbells are starting to feel quite heavy, that the stance opens a little bit as you drop underneath. So you go from a pulling position to more like a squatting position. That's okay, as long as it doesn't get too far outside of about shoulder width. We don't want you splaying out the like the Bambi on ice kind of a stance. We want to make sure we're in a good sort of receiving position there. So the knees should always kind of line up with the feet. You notice as she goes through the pulling part at the bottom, she's keeping the knees open, not letting them fall in on each other. And resting. So last round coming up, guys, is your cardio of choice. We're doing our toe taps. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this being the last minute, guys, this is where you want to really try and hang on, push it as fast as you can. This one's nice and straightforward, not too much in the way of technique, which means that when we get tired, we don't have too much we've got to think about. We can just keep the foot on the gas and get a really nice finish to this, get that heart rate nice and high. Okay, 15 more seconds. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, that is the move workout done. Have a little bit of recovery time. We've got the finisher coming up next. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna check out the finisher now. So it's just a little bit of kind of accessory work to finish things off. What we have is 3 rounds. We're gonna be doing 15 lying tricep extensions, which are gonna look like this. So setting up on the ground on the back, bending the arms, and then extending using those triceps. So 15 reps on that one. We're then gonna get rid of the dumbbells, flip onto our belly, and we're gonna go into 15 Superman rocks. So limbs are out, rocking back and forth, very similar to a hollow rock, but basically the reverse of that. Now there's no real time frame with this one, guys, so you kind of rest what you want to. We'll probably take maybe about 30 seconds here, but we're gonna start on this now and get into those tricep extensions. So the first thing we'll see with this, the setup, we wanna have feet, hips, shoulders, and head glued to the ground. So very similar to when we do like a floor press, and that's just to give us good stability and to allow our back to be in a nice comfortable position. One of the things you'll notice is that with the weight being overhead, and especially as you kind of bend those arms, it will feel like the rib cage and the upper torso is going to want to get dragged back with it. So this is where your core strength and that activation through your belly is going to come in. You're going to keep the ribs kind of glued down as if they're attached into the hips there, and they're not going to get stretched and pulled back. Now, as far as the arms go, the upper arm, so from shoulder to elbow, that's going to stay nice and still. But it's just the elbow and the lower arm that's going to do the moving. So it's just a hinge at the elbow. So from here, we're going to move into those Superman rocks. So limbs are as long as you can make them, and we're basically rolling from the pelvis up to the rib cage, just going back and forth, and trying to keep a nice consistent rock going through there. Okay, so that's one set down. We'll take about a 30-second rest, and then you jump in when you feel ready. Right, so getting ready for set number 2. So again, we're getting that nice fixed upper arm position, just hinging at the elbow. You'll notice that this is just kind of coming down to the front ends or the top ends of dumbbells. Are just going to lightly tap the ground either side of the head. So we'll feel like your hands kind of go either side there and then drive up to a lockout. You'll notice that at the top, she's almost pointing straight up at the roof, but she's also just got a little bit of further reach back like that, and that's just to keep the tension on those triceps, keep them working the whole time. You'll find that probably your pecs and your lats as well are going to work as kind of stabilizers of this, so don't be shocked if you feel them working a little bit too. As we move into these Superman rocks, guys, sometimes the hardest part of this is just getting it started. So you'll notice that when Em does this, she's going to kind of drop into it, yes? She went into kind of like almost like an up dog position with her arms pressed out, and then she let herself kind of roll into it, and then once she was going, the arms reached out, and then she's got that momentum to work with. Sometimes if you just go straight to Superman, it's kind of hard to get it moving in the first place. Okay, so 2 rounds down, we've got 1 more to go, so again, we'll have a little rest here. The rest is kind of up to you guys. If you feel like you need to take longer, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever you need to do, we're just going to keep them fairly short. We'll get this last round done. All right. Okay, so going into the 3rd and final set, guys. Remember, it's 15 reps on this. And cadence, very similar to what Em's doing there, probably about 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up. So not excessively fast, not excessively slow, just smooth. It's a strict movement, so we don't want to see any momentum. We don't want to see the arms getting all rattly and moving around. It's just nice and controlled. And it's keeping the dumbbells in that nice neutral position as well. So along the way, if you feel your low back getting excessively arched up, there's usually a nice natural curve, but if it starts to really bridge up to the point where you feel like your butt's wanting to lift off or you're pushing off your feet, try to lock that down, get a little tighter through that midsection. Okay, so we see that drop in again. She hits the rocks. If you find that this just feels way too difficult, guys, you can bring the hands into that push-up position and actually just use the ground to kind of press and create the front end of that rock. Okay, and that's those Superman rocks. So guys, that is the finisher done. Have a little bit of a chill, and then we're gonna have a look at some cool down stretches to finish. Okay guys, so we've gotten through all the hard stuff. Now is taking some time just to loosen the body up after the workout. So the first drill we're gonna do is just a lying back twist. So arms are out to the side like a T shape, body's nice and flat, feet are planted, and we're just gonna go side to side with those knees. So we'll do this for the next minute. So where we're really trying to get into is just that low back, kind of where we attach into the glutes as well. So keeping the knees together. You can do this with the feet off the ground, but I actually prefer it with feet on the ground because it allows you to relax into it a little bit more. Now, if you're really, really tight, what you'll find is as you roll the legs across, the rest of the body is going to want to drag with it. So the arm and the shoulder is going to come across as well. What we want to do is try to get the upper body to stay glued down and get that nice rotation through the midsection. We can see it's a nice slow tempo, so we're not rushing back and forth. We're not doing windscreen wipers as an ab exercise. This is just nice and slow. You might even spend 3 to 5, 10 seconds if you want to at end range and just hang out there. And then just going back and forth, allowing that knee to reach across. All right, so that's drill number one. The second one we're gonna do is what we call a quad hammy rock. So this one, as Em's setting up here, a little bit of padding under the knee goes a long way. We're gonna go into a long lunge position. So we'll do this for 45 seconds each side. What's just gonna happen, she's gonna go knee forward, chest up, and then she's gonna fade right back. So we're going legs straight, head down. And we're basically just gonna rock from a quad and hip flexor stretch, okay? And then we're gonna fall back into a sort of hamstring, low back, maybe even a little bit of glute in there as well. And just nice and slow. So similar to that previous stretch, taking the time with this, not rushing through it. And if you can, spend a little bit of time at end range. Three, 2, 1. So switching sides. We'll do 45 on this one as well. Now you might find with this, guys, that you have to kind of ease into this. We do get into some pretty extended position with this. So if you can't get head right down to the knee like that, that's okay. Just sit back to where you can, and then over time it should open up. This is just going to be a nice one just to keep the legs and the hips and the back nice and healthy. You can see that why the padding is necessary for this. You're on that knee for quite a while. So it's good just to be able to relax into it a little bit more. And time. All right. So those are the two drills, guys. If you have time, go through 3 or 4 rounds of that. Take some time to really loosen the body up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That's been your Move Plus workout.